what we have to talk about here is what has happened and what is going on with Ireland, and you might indulge us for a little while here as we try and take on what is a bugbear of ours, just personally from a fan's perspective. I feel like we need to vent so that we can park it and move on. But there's a couple of things that we have to look at, because there's almost so much going wrong from an Ireland point of view that it's almost an intimidating task to try and outline it all. I think we're farther off than perhaps we even realise at times, and at other times, not too far off.
There's elements that are almost there, and there are elements that are good, but there are some glaring problems that really are recurring when we meet the big teams.
Well, there's probably two broad categories that you could look at Ireland's failings in, and I would say the first is your basic, from a coaching point of view, what's your shape? What structures have you put in place that are going to work and open up teams, especially with ball in hand? This is where they really struggled against England. What sort of structures are you putting in place, and what tactics are you using to win games? And then the other element of it is just on an individual level, the quality of the plays that are being made, the quality of the carries, the quality of the passing, the quality of the finishing,
the quality of the lines that are cut.
The quality of throwing, the quality of playmaking. Like on an individual level,
and then collectively.
And then collectively, that's like another category and another serious failing. I think just starting with from a coaching point of view and from a tactical point of view in terms of how Ireland are trying to open up teams. I was looking at the game, and there was a lot of different elements in terms of we had so much of the ball, there was so much to see. But there's one sort of illustrative play that I think we don't usually show footage in this context, but we're going to show some this time, just to give you an example of what we're talking about when we say Ireland are being limited. And this is a play that takes place just before you put it up. It takes place about 2.5 minutes into the game, and it starts with a line out about halfway into the English half. And Ireland have it. It's clean ball, and this is an area from which teams like England last year have loved to strike. And we're just going to show you the play first of all, try and put a full screen, and then we'll talk about it after. So here you go.
Run it through. So it starts up with a clean ball and a hit up in the middle from Bundy Aki, which is obviously nice. Quick ball for Gibson Park, and the line is set, and we take another carry, and a dominant one it is. Nice clean out, good quick ball. Third phase, another carry from Porter this time, and then what do? We sit deep and we kick the corner.
Now,
just gonna pause it there.
Now, there's a lot. I suppose first instinct you're looking at this is first of all, it could pass you by in terms of a play. It's pretty innocuous. Ireland in the opening third of the game were trying to put those probing kicks in behind to put England under a bit of pressure. But I just want to take a moment. What's missing in this Ireland team, and the reason that we went to 0 points until 75 minutes, in my view, is explained right here. So we're just going to go through it in a bit more detail. Early game, where you're trying to break the back of teams, they have a perfect platform. The line out, which people thought was a bugbear, goes perfectly.
This is before everything's gone wrong. It's only 2 minutes in, and it's a perfect clean ball off the top of the line out.
Absolutely perfect throw, perfect catch, 5-man line out, England tied up, ball is given cleanly to Gibson Park.
So we roll that on a little, and obviously, as we said, Bundy Aki is the smash man. He's going to win his contact.
He's got Daragh in support. He's gone smashing through Billy Vunipola, who's out of the line out, the 5-man line out, occupied Curry, gone down, good support from Caelan Darras, and the ball is presented quickly for Gibson Park, and so we go again. The line is a little narrow there, but Kelleher gets the ball. It's probably a little unsubtle. It could really only be Kelleher or Ryan taking it, but Ryan's there to support. The contact is won, and the play is quick. It's about a 1 second ruck. Now this is the key moment.
We're going to pause right here.
Where you've paused it right there, and this is the screen that we're going to be looking at for a while, because this is what blew my mind when I was looking back on this game. That is what we talked about last week when we were talking about England and the strike plays they've been running that punish teams. We said, off the top of the line out, first phase Tuolagi hit up, second phase around the corner hit up, both of those contacts won, and then on the third phase you strike. And this, in this English line that has been much praised and was very good, you see why that talk gets made, because actually everything has gone perfectly. Everything has gone plan A. Bundy Aki won his contact. The line out was beautiful. It was quick ball. It went around the corner. Kelleher won his contact. Lightning quick ball. Gibson Park is presented with this. And if you look here at the English line and the English defence, this here is Johnny May. Johnny May has come up off his left wing. He's narrowed right in, and his focus is in here on this pod of 3 Irish attackers. Elliot Daly, as we'll see when he kicks it, is actually a little infield. He's probably hovering just on the back edge of the screen, but probably
level with the Irish out half, watching his eyes.
Yes, possibly in behind the ruck. But there is this huge pocket of space in behind here, and there is crucially this man here, Keith Earls, who's a bit of a blur by our view, but what he does have is he has his hands up and he's pointing to that space. And when you look at the opportunities that are there for Ireland to attack, the English line is fractured. There's open field. There's space here. There's space outside Johnny May.
There's space this side of the ruck because Mako's still not folded.
And then on the left side of the ruck, there's Mako Vunipola not back on his ruck in time, and next to him is the other prop, Kyle Sinclair.
Yeah.
And if you're looking from an offensive point of view at the matchups that you look for in a game, you look for 2 props defending together, because as good as they are, they can struggle to close down the space.
Especially if one of them's offside as the play begins. You know, that's a big chance.
So Ireland, off the first good attacking platform that they got in the game, executed their first and second phase perfectly according to the plan and got completely clean ball and fractured the English line to such an extent that there's holes on the open side here, on the blind side here, and in the backfield here.
Yeah.
And then you avert your eyes from the English shape to what the Irish shape is.
What is the Irish shape?
It is bamboozling.
Yeah.
So the first carry, Bundyaki was supported by Daragh. Second carry, Kelleher was supported by Ryan. This shape here is Andrew Porter, Chris Farrell, and CJ Stander. And this kind of blows my mind. Like, if the carry is for a forward hit up, he doesn't have a support man with him. It's Chris Farrell who's going to have to go in and ruck. There's no option on this side here where Mako Vunipola is. Quinn Roux doesn't want the ball. Caelan Darras is running around. Bundyaki is positioned here in kind of the 10 slot, but he's not interested in the ball. Ross Byrne is standing next to him in a pocket kind of situation, obviously lining up the next phase kick. Hugo Keenan's practically expecting a kick return over here, such that we're going to kick it away. And the only man on the pitch who could receive a pass is Andrew Porter, right where English defence is at its most set.
Yeah.
He's the only man who's expecting a pass.
And he's the only one who gets it.
And if you look at what Ireland could do to open this up, Darras or Aki could recognise this 2-prop situation and try to attack it on the open side. Chris Farrell could recognise that Johnny May is up in the line and call for a mispass, try and run flatter on the outside shoulder of Porter and try and take a good flat pass from Gibson Park, which you know he has in him. CJ could run outside him, Keith Earls could run flat to the line. All of a sudden Johnny May's got to make a make or break decision where he could execute a pass over him and Keith Earls is in that space. You could pick it up from the base and chip it into that space there, and have Keith Earls attack it. You could very well end up with a 50-50 situation if you do that.
Or perhaps more if Elliot Daly is a bit far out. We've seen Ireland score tries off set piece like that before. Tommy Bowe has done one from a Conor Murray box kick. But yeah, they don't recognise, with the exception of Keith Earls with his hand up, they don't seem to recognise that space. And Farrell is a 13 in there, but as we were saying earlier, he's there for defensive reasons more than offensive ones. The passing isn't as good, but also just a recognition. He's not looking for the ball.
My point is that every single player on that Irish line, not one of them recognises the extent to which the English defensive line has been fractured and the extent to which there's space available to attack.
Yeah.
And so you roll it on, and this is what becomes of it. Andrew Porter, by himself, trucks up, Darras gets in time, Farrell gets there, and then pause it when we see the open field there. The English line is once again now completely set. Johnny May is turned on his heels, ready for a kick in behind. The English line is now perfect on the open side. Keith Earls is out of the game.
Hands back down again.
Hands back down. Keenan has gone so far deep he's out of shot, and Ross Byrne is standing in the pocket behind a pod of forwards who can't receive the ball, unable to do anything else but kick.
Yeah.
Roll it on here.
So we do kick it away, and it's a very frustrating look. And then this is highlighted as a positive play, because look, you can see there is a bit of a scramble here. England get a little tangled in their own end goal, have to do an offload and a hurried kick out, and you think, now this is another chance. Kick return. I was begging to see a kick return try from Ireland. What do? We move it into the midfield, get James Lowe on it. He kicks it.
And if you actually look back, Bundyaki and Chris Farrell are coming to the open field as well.
Yeah. And it's just, what are we doing with Gibson Park and James Lowe just kicking first thing? It hits off an Englishman, more chaos. There's an element to which this could go anywhere. Nearly, Gibson Park and James Lowe nearly converge on it, but it's an Englishman who's there first. The ball goes to deck. And then, sure, look, Ben Youngs arrives at the ruck to pick up the ball.
Yeah.
Pretty much where Ireland started after all that huff and puff.
Exactly. At the end, the play started with Ireland executing to a T their plan that went perfectly.
Yeah.
The play started with an Aki hit up, went perfectly off the top of perfect line out ball. Second phase went perfectly, another dominant carry from Kelleher. Third phase, lightning quick ruck ball, and from that position, within the space of a couple of phases, it's back and England have the ball in the same spot. Yeah. And what the reason that's happened is because what's been drilled into this Irish team is actually what we're going to do is we're going to own the territory game, we're going to put in these little chaotic kicks in behind and try and create chaos ball and dynamics that we win. We do that, but what materialises is that England have the clutch and the hustle to make the play on the ball, to escape. It becomes a very nice play from Elliot Daly in his own end goal, and they get it away, and they recover even the James Lowe kick then thereafter.
Yeah.
And so what's happening is that Ireland are committed to this idea of creating these chaos opportunities and not nearly committed enough to attacking where the space is.
Yes.
Having their heads up as ball players, as rugby players who understand this game and are, top level test internationals, to recognise where the space is and attack it.
Yeah.
Because there was a try there
was,
to be scored. On that third phase after that second carry, there were a few areas where Ireland could have attacked and maybe gotten a try out of it.
Yeah.
And they failed to recognise that and ended up putting in a probing kick which didn't amount to much. And they went on not to score until the 74th minute.
Yeah. And it's a microcosm. Yeah. It's a play that's worth 1,000 words, because you were in the process of typing up in the prep almost 1,000 words on that play alone. And obviously there are other moments. Keith Earls had a lovely skip pass at one point that he was dropped into the midfield to throw the skip pass, and little moments like that were trying to build things. But this play itself, 2 minutes in, we never really carried with the same ferocity that we did or intent as with this play. And you can just see this all, as you say, the main thing is the first two phases went to plan. So what was the plan after?
Yeah, and it's such a crucial time in the game as well. If you're not going to attack them off a strike play off set piece in that opening stanza, when are you going to do it? And it's such a massive opportunity missed, and it sort of puts a different look on this idea that this English defence is insurmountably good.
Yeah.
It's not. It's a very very good defence. They're very, very difficult to break down. But off set piece in particular, if you can sit down the defence for a couple of phases in a row and generate quick ball, there's all kinds of opportunities. And I can't help but think, from an Ireland point of view, a nation that likes to think of themselves as tier 1 top level, should be in the top 4 in the world. So says their mission statement on the IRFU.
That's right. Yeah.
That any one of the top sides would have done a better job of recognising that. Your Australias, your New Zealands,
your Argentinas,
even Wales at times have had a better track record for recognising where a try is in a play, and Ireland are just way too structured, way too ingrained in what the plan is and the idea is, and there's no varying from that. There's no heads up calling of a play, and there was a play there made. They actually opened up that English defence in 2 phases without even realising it, and then they allowed that moment to pass them by. And it's those moments where the defensive line is fractured that you have to try something and you have to strike. And it was an opportunity missed for Ireland.
It really was. It was a painful one to analyse, but that was just one little microcosm. It's where our foibles and where our gripes with this Irish offence are really founded is exactly that. There's no heads up play, and as I was saying, we watched Leinster, we're Leinster fans as well. Only the other day the kids are out, they're throwing the ball around. The first attacking set they had against Cardiff at the weekend, they peeled to an open side, found a gap and found space and found a try in a single phase or a couple of phases. It is happening, even in Connacht as well. Connacht are throwing lovely passes. They were tearing Zebra apart over the weekend. There are ball players in Ireland and there's attacking rugby in Ireland, but it is not filtering up to the top side. They seem terrified to play when they're in the green jersey.
That's one of the key issues, is that structure, that they're way too limited to that structure, and you saw it by and large in that play, almost in a nutshell. I mean, there were other examples, like just the fact that Jacob Stockdale's try was really well taken. It was a nice little dink from Burns and a lovely finish from Jacob. But when the English line were playing in that second half, there were a lot of occasions where that space was in behind, and we were very late to go to it. So there's those tactical issues still remain, and still the focus tends to be on this bludgeoning, pre-planned, pre-packaged offensive set that ends in a bit of a pressure kick or something. And it just wasn't enough to break England down, and certainly isolating where the space is an area that coaching staff have to look at. But to go to our second point briefly before we wrap up this segment, I just wanted to talk about like the one of the key reasons why the offense is struggling as well has to be on the quality of the individuals involved and what they're doing. And like you were looking at that second half, like obviously the pod structure sucked and there wasn't that there, but some of the carrying was really, really poor as the game went on.
Static
is the word.
Like just
Rossburn standing
still.
deep, catching the ball standing still, shipping it all on standing still to a forward standing still, who then tries to do something with the ball against an English defence that's running. So basic things like the quality of carry, running onto the ball, getting a good pass in front of them, and then putting a bit of footwork on to best a defender in those tight contacts is another thing. Outside of Caelan Daragh, who I thought did manage that hustle pretty well, was something that was by and large missing from the Irish attack. And there was all kinds of these little microcosms of players really lacking that top level quality in terms of what they're doing with the ball, both in the dynamism of the carry and the quality of the pass. I mean, you highlighted that Keith Earls moment. Ireland had to move Keith Earls into centre in order to get someone who could move the ball to the wide channels, and that's a frustration in and of itself. Keith Earls is our best option for that. He had a lovely play against Wales, but it juxtaposes. Like, if we wanted to run more footage, there's an example of Keith Earls throwing a pass to the wide channels to try and get it outside a fractured English line, and the ball is just too long in the air.
It wobbles a little and it's too long in the air.
It sits deep, and by the time it's caught, the defence is there. If you counter that in the second half, in the first half, with an English opportunity, Henry Slade had an opportunity to spin the ball wide and whipped it, fizzed it off his left hand, not a bother on him, from more or less the same spot as Keith Earls did, and
just a crisper, faster pass.
Went right to Jonathan Joseph, and away he went down the wing because Ireland couldn't close the space in time. And certainly if you were a neutral watching Ireland, and you weren't familiar with Irish rugby, and you weren't committed to it, a casual observation you would make is these guys just aren't that good. They can't really move the ball. Their passing is unclean. Everything is slow. They can't really operate at speed. That is in a nutshell why they can't compete with England.
No, it's true, and it's also that's one of the final points I'll make, as well as the skill, is just the tempo that Ireland look to play at. Even when all things go to plan, it's too slow. We are a slow team. We don't like moving fast, and it's a pain because a lot of our new personnel, as we were saying, or a lot of these younger guys are more comfortable and more effective at speed, and yet they are slowing down in a green jersey. There's quicker ball being distributed around the provinces than is happening in a green jersey, and part of that does go to the point on skills. I don't think they're confident enough to operate at that speed, which is a problem. That should be what's being worked on.
Well, that's it. Like, all you can tinker with all the things you want, and you can try and put teams under pressure. I just don't think you're going to be able to cope if you can't execute a try when it's there.
No.
And that's what's killing Ireland at the moment. And it gets worse when you go into the red zone and watch them bludgeon from there, petrified to move the ball at all. And another example, like, you want to look at the difference between Ireland and England as well, is like Johnny May taking that try. He gets that ball, like, that's a playmaker. That's a world-class player. And Ireland are lacking for those at the moment, especially in those wide channels. I mean, as good as Keith Earls was and is, he was arguably one of the best backs in the Ireland team last week. He had that little break, and it was a nice little break, and it nearly set up a try. It probably should have, and really the chance being missed is on what happened afterwards, where there was no structure and no shape, and the ball got instantly turned over when it should have gone wide. But I mean, in that moment where he gets the better of his man, he looks up to try and see, because Chris Farrell's running a tracking run, and then the pass isn't on because it's being covered, and so he tucks his head in, and then just as he edges the contact, the English defender drifts away and Chris Farrell is free, but Keith Earls just can't get his hands free. He doesn't really look up, and the ball doesn't go, and you're just seeing the top teams get those passes away and finish those chances when they come, and that's what England did with the world-class Johnny May, and so from Ireland's point of view, just on a personnel, from the perspective of personnel, getting guys, much more important than tactics and all of that stuff, is just getting guys on the field, not just being physical enough for test level, but being sharp enough and creative and skilled enough to play at test level, where they can finish tries when they're there.
Yeah,
and
I
that's
think
something that's missing.
Yeah,
they didn't score a try, but until Stockdale came on, and that was a consolation score. They scored nothing for all of that possession. That's incredible.
It is incredible. Yeah. It's nearly an effort to do that. It's so bamboozling was it to watch. But yeah, like obviously, like other elements were good, like the dominant collisions. The fact like that going back to that play we highlighted, like there was a lot good in what Ireland did as well. That's where I understand their chat saying that a few errors this and it wasn't as far off as maybe they suggested. There's some truth to that, but what they are missing for it is that they should be culpable for missing those tries. I don't even know if that play is going to come up on the Monday morning review or whatever.
It could pass you by in an instant, but that's the point, is that you should really be looking at that. Like, you can use the bludgeoning carries to open up the space out wide, as was done, and and that was done to a T there. They used the first carry, second carry, opened up out wide, not identified by anyone on the pitch apart from Keith Earls. But nobody in a distribution role.
You have your 13 there on the short side between two forwards, and he's not making a play on it. He doesn't recognise it. It's there are systemic problems with it and skill problems with it, and broadly as well. They're looking to play too slowly. It plays into the English hands. They are trying to out physical a team that's bigger and stronger than them, and that is fundamentally silly from a tactical point of view. But skills as well. Just there's a lot wrong with what Ireland are trying to do with the ball these days, and hopefully it changes soon.
Yeah. Thank you for watching the Overlap Rugby podcast. If you enjoyed that video, please be sure to like and share with your friends. And if you'd like to hear more of what we have to say, please be sure to subscribe and click that bell so you get notified when we upload our videos. And please join the comment section as well. We like to get a fun conversation going here.